Retail Week is brought to you by Nutrisphere N, Nitrogen Fertilizer Manager, protecting your nitrogen from all three forms of loss. Welcome again to Crop Life Retail Week. Paul Schrimpf returns with Eric. I think I know you still.
We've missed you.
Yeah,
We've missed
it's been a long time. So we spent time with the ERA Environmental Respect Award judging, which gosh, it seems like a year ago now, but it was only a couple of weeks.
Actually, it was almost a month at this point.
Was it almost a month?
Almost a month. Yeah.
Gosh, man, time is flown. Anyway, we enjoyed that, so we're getting ready to go out and revisit the regional, the sub-regional winners.
Yep.
One from Canada and three from the States. So we'll be able to interview them directly and take some pictures of their operations and get ready for that. That'll be interesting.
Now that's upcoming, but you've been on the road already.
I've been on the road, yeah. One of the weeks I was gone, I was doing some visits in Washington, D.C. I did 8 visits to associations in 2 days, which I think it burned up about $23 worth of Metro and a couple of Ubers. It was during that big rainstorm, so I got soaked a couple of times. It was interesting, but we did get to explore some of the things going on with the associations. I got a chance to talk to the Farm Bureau a little bit, and they're telling me that they actually got invited to speak with some of the leadership at the EPA, which is I think twice so far, which is twice more than they had actually been invited to come down and see the former administration's EPA folks. So they're getting a little more direct contact and having whether things go Ag's way or not, I don't know, but they're at least able to express what's going on in Ag and the concerns that farmers have. I talked a little bit with TFI, got to see Kathy Mathers, and we talked about responsible ag, and we're going to see a lot more promotion of responsible ag come the summertime. We're looking for more retailers to get on board. I encourage you to talk to the folks at TFI and those responsible ag who can help retailers maybe embrace that program to a greater extent, but things are moving along, I think, where they expected them to be. And but again, looking to get more folks on board on that front. I got to see the Irrigation Association as a group I hadn't seen. I hadn't actually gone to D.C. to see in the past, so I got a little insight on what they're working on. And China's making some major moves in the irrigation market. We're seeing a lot of Chinese companies coming to the U.S. trying to figure out how to kind of break into the market, which is causing some heartburn for domestic companies, but it's something that China has said that they definitely want to work on in terms of building the components and the infrastructure for irrigation, and also looking at data standards. I mean, they're looking at what's happening with sensors, and irrigation technology has really moved rapidly from the standpoint of using an app on your phone to control and to understand what's going on with irrigation pivots. They want to be in on a conversation and in on the standardization of data as it applies to other kinds of sensors and other types of data in ag. So actually having a meeting, I think, at the end of May, beginning of June, where they're going to be talking specifically about irrigation data standards. So that's moving apace. Again, with Crop Life America, they had their annual spring conference, so I got to see some of the folks over there. Again, I think across the board, there's cautious optimism, although we had conversations about NAFTA, and I know a lot of heartburn over killing NAFTA or changing NAFTA too dramatically, because the impact on the farm community and the food tends to be the most emotional and most immediate response when it comes to trade negotiations. And while the long-term impact might be better, the short-term impact could be pretty drastic. So lots going on, lots of activity. Folks very busy trying to figure out what everything's going to mean with the new administration. But I guess the new Ag Secretary, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, actually, yeah, since your visit, Paul, we've actually had trumpets blare. Some movement on that. We actually now have a Secretary of Ag, the 31st in long line. That'll be Sonny Perdue. I know the folks in Ag are looking forward to his tenure, and hopeful that things in the Beltway will be a lot easier to accomplish under his tutelage. So we'll see what happens there.
Very interesting. And we have a couple of other items after the break.
Over the 9+ years, they've done over 400 trials, side-by-side replicated trials, and we've shown that 90% of the time we've had a positive yield response with Nutrisphere. So 90% of the time a crop producer out of those 400+ trials could expect a positive response. That positive response is average 10 bushel an acre across all 400+ trials.
So thanks for coming back. A couple other things to share with you this week. We got some financial numbers from folks at Dow and DuPont, who of course everyone knows in the marketplace these two companies are planning to get together by the end of the year in a formal merger of equals. The numbers were interesting. Dow apparently had a 5% drop in their first quarter revenue, down to $1.6 billion. Hurt particularly by, I guess, lower demand for herbicides in Asia-Pacific region. In particular, Paul, flooding in China suppressed the demand for rice herbicides from the company, so that did hurt them. And DuPont, though, actually had a strong quarter. They were up 4% to $3.9 billion for the quarter. Stronger demand for seed and herbicides from their customers. So kind of interesting, those two companies getting together, and their numbers were almost exactly opposite, down and up versus so kind of a push, if you will. And one other note, our condolences to the folks at AGCO Corporation. Their president, CEO, from the past couple of years, Robert Ratliff, did pass away last week. Under Robert's tutelage, AGCO expanded as a company, doing some 21 acquisitions of some major brands like Challenger and Fendt during his tenure. And they grew from a company that was worth $200 million in 1990 to $5.4 billion when he retired in 2006.
Yeah, it was quite a challenge. We got a chance to meet him. Dan Bellinger, sales rep, and I went out to see him shortly after he took over in the early 2000s, and it really an impressive guy. Really had a clear handle on the task at hand and putting all these disparate brands together worldwide, and kind of understanding how they wanted to do it, and obviously created this tremendous company out of all of this, and during a very turbulent kind of acquisition period. So certainly our condolences to him. He was a great guy and a tremendous leader. So really sad to see him pass, but our condolences to the AGCO family. And that's it for this edition of Crop Life Retail Week. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week. Thank you to this week's video sponsor, Nutrisphere N Fertilizer Manager from Verdesian Life Sciences.